Now that the light's on, you know what that means. Flight's on. And welcome everyone to this newest edition of IG50I. That's right. I got 5 on it. It's your boy Craig, aka TOP_FLYT3 if you follow me on Twitter. And first of all, congrats to everyone out there who survived Overstimulation Tuesday. This week was an adventure. Outside of being a Chargers fan, that is, because we got to the trade deadline and nothing took place. But don't panic. I think there's a method to the madness. And also, let's put some context to all this stuff, shall we? So without further ado, let's hop into it. Listen, if you're watching this on YouTube, I know beard is super scruffy. You're catching me before my appointment this afternoon with the barber. Your boy got some salt and pepper creeping through at the top of the beard. I kind of look like Wolverine. It is what it is. I'm 40 plus now, comes with the territory, and the alternative to aging is not. So do with that what you will. Happy to be here and to remain. So let's just do what we got to do, right? Anyway, trade deadline ends up being much ado about nothing. Here's the thing though. No tight ends moved, which was option 1A for me. So that means no David Njoku, no Evan Ingram, no Hunter Henry anywhere. I mean, hell, no Charlie Kolar from the tight end hoarding Baltimore Ravens even. The biggest wide receiver name to relocate on Tuesday was Mike Williams for a 5th rounder. Y'all knew I was all the way cool on Mike. So congrats to Pittsburgh. Hope everything works out with Mike over there. We did see that the Chargers called in on Marshawn Lattimore, who ultimately ended up a Washington Commander, but at least it wasn't the Chiefs, right? And the Liver King, Eric Tomlinson, was cut, which isn't like a full-on early Christmas gift, but it is a fire stocking stuffer at the least. Now, the flip side to the Chargers not making any moves is apparently the good got gooder. It's not a word, but it's just how this flowed. So here are some names of guys who moved on to other teams in the AFC, whether it be prior to the trade line or Tuesday. You got Amari Cooper to the Bills, Deontay Johnston to the Ravens. That game last night was crazy, by the way, and Deontay was not really a factor at all. Seems like he's still getting adjusted to the offense, and Lamar's trying to figure him out a little bit. You had some overthrows, looked like he tripped on a route. It's kind of ugly, to tell you the truth. But anyway, wild game nonetheless. You got Tre'Davious White to the Ravens for whatever that's worth. So the Ravens make 2 moves. Tre'Davious was coming off of an injury last season. He was traded from the Rams, and it looked like both were happy to see each other go. But anyway, you got Mike Williams along with Preston Smith to the Steelers. DeAndre Hopkins and Josh Uche to the still somehow undefeated Chiefs. Khalil Herbert, running back, came from Chicago Bears to the below 500 Cincinnati Bengals, who were surging but fell to the Ravens just on last night. But still, you can see them making moves because they feel like they can contend. So we're talking about both division and conference foes that are on the balance of the schedule, or that you'll see if the Chargers make it into the dance. But let's be rational. Either teams were asking too much for players at the positions the Chargers were targeting, or they just weren't on the block. Either way, it still sucks to watch teams you're going to have to see making moves. I am as guilty as anyone for initially being frustrated about the Chargers not doing anything at the deadline. But man, some of y'all folks out there, specifically the ones on social media, being super disrespectful to Joe Hortiz, it's wild. The selective amnesia is not a good look, because lest we forget, all of the contributions to this point from players that have been picked up, whether it was in free agency or trades earlier this year before the season started, towards the beginning, the genesis of it all. But I know this league, really sports in general, is all about what have you done for me lately. But again, those moves are paying dividends nearly every week. We're talking about key contributors, guys like Tier Tart. And I remember that person on Twitter who came after me for saying that would end up being a good move. I'm pretty sure I bookmarked your tweet. I might come looking for you. Petty P is always hanging out, looking for an opportunity to come out and play. We'll see how I feel later. But anyway, other than muddying things up in the running game, being a disruptor there, and also getting after the QB a little bit, but more so his contributions in on special teams. I mean, the dude has a blocked field goal to his credit. So making it happen on the D-line and on special teams as well, I'd say that's paying off. You got Elijah Molden, who's leading the team in interceptions. Another guy that I said would be a tremendous asset to the team. And he should actually have maybe 3 to 4 more picks on his resume this year, but, refs gonna ref. J.K. Dobbins, because everyone was pretty much certain he was washed. But what we knew was if he could stay healthy, he would be a problem. And so far, outside of Justin Herbert, offensively, he's got to be your MVP. I mean, signs talking about your offensive line as far as the tackles are concerned. J.K., he's given us more than I think anyone could have guessed to this point. So, yeah, kudos for that as well. And then you got your 2 fifth-round draft picks, which lends back to me speaking about how I wasn't mad about Mike Williams not being traded for that. Cam Hart and Tarheeb Still. Makes you rethink mid to later round draft picks with this organization, because clearly they know how to scout, and I ain't giving that up for Mike Williams. When we're seeing the potential coming to fruition with these 2 guys, yeah, like I said before, I'm good. Let's keep our picks. And then Poona Ford. He was one of the lightning round's favorites earlier, like years ago when he was coming out of Texas, just because of his ability to kind of be a stopgap there in the middle. But he also has some pass rushing chops, and you've seen that here throughout the year. The stat sheet doesn't blow you away, but he's one of those guys that you have to watch tape on to see how much of a difference he makes. So put some respect on Joe Hortiz's name, because he's more than earned it, and give him a little bit of leeway. We have to pump the brakes on the nonsense. The truth of the matter is that just based on what we know, what the Chargers were looking for wasn't actually readily available to them, or apparently no other teams in the NFL, because the spots that we were really looking at and the players that we really, really wanted for the most part didn't end up moving anyway. So chill out. Hey, I get it. The $1 million question is what now? And in my opinion, Roman, Brady, and Trestman should be working overtime on weekly game plans. I'm not saying that they don't already, but those that start and end with protecting 10 like the Holy Grail. I mean, unless Zion, Bozeman, and Pipkins discover the super soldier serum, they're going to remain the football equivalent of a 3-piece Burger King nugget meal. I pray that whenever DJ Chark returns to live action, that he'll still have that extra gear that provides the offense a skill set that it sorely needs to be able to threaten defenses vertically. It'll do wonders for the running game, because teams will feel less confident about crowding the box. And not to mention, it would be nice to see Herbert uncork it for like 45 plus yards a couple times a game to someone who can actually create separation beyond 10 to 15 yards down the field. Also, right now, the running game is JK or bust. Kamani Vidal has mostly been pedestrian. And, of course, we all know Gus Edwards has been non-existent. And that includes before he went on IR for 4 games. So this team's been fortunate that Dobbins has been really sturdy thus far. But let's not tempt fate. One of the guys will need to step up and be a viable Robin to JK's Batman. Ultimately, the offense is going to have to continue to roll, unleash Herbert, but in a safer way. Let's get him moving around the pocket, or moving the pocket for him, so that he can operate on the perimeter. And the wide receivers have been improving every week. So we saw QJ go for his first 100-yard performance just last week. Lad is being lad. Joshua Palmer is turning into a big play guy, which is funny because you're not seeing the consistent targets like 5, 6, 7 a game, but the 3 or 4 that he's getting, at least 2 of those are resulting in big time third down conversions. And we saw last week, even one went for a touchdown on busted coverage. But I'm fine with him popping up sporadically as long as he continues to make plays when necessary. But overall, my focus would be do what you got to do to keep 10 upright, however that needs to take place, because this team goes as he does. And if anything happens to him, we might as well start doing draft coverage now. Start it early. Start doing our scouting and prospect watch, because if there's no 10, there's no Chargers. And that's just the truth about it. I know it's Tennessee, but don't play no games, man. Stay dangerous. Go out there and get the job done. Take them seriously. So whether it's the Titans or whomever, I don't care. I'm old enough to remember week 7 at the Cardinals. Now, granted, the Birds are showing themselves to be a decent team now, but most assumed that would be a gimme game, and it was anything but. The Chargers are number one in points surrendered. The Titans are number one in total yards given up. They're behind the Bolts at ninth for completion percentage to opposing QBs. They also boast a top 10 rush defense. Add to that, they're number one in the league against the pass. So for the sake of Herbert's torso staying intact, for the love of the almighty, Greg Roman, please consistently move the pocket for 10. Get him out on the outside. Force guys like Tavondre Sweat and Jeffrey Simmons to chase him around and wear themselves out. I mean, right now, they're probably still eating Halloween candy while watching film, laughing themselves to tears at the Chargers' interior offensive line. Give them all they can handle all day long and run them into the ground. They're going to be formidable on the inside against the run. We already know that. Said that, them having one of the top rush defenses in the league. But man, the last thing you want to do is have 10 be static in a game like this, because where the Chargers are weak, Tennessee has strengths. So this isn't the ideal matchup, and we know styles make fights, which is why you can never count teams out, because for a Chargers team who's finding its passing game and a weakness of an interior offensive line against a team that boasts two monsters on the inside that can screw everything up, whether it be getting penetration against the run or speeding things up in the passing game, there has to be a plan to circumvent that. So Greg, don't do our boy dirty this week. J.K. Dobbins is going to have a tough one ahead of him. It'd be nice if he got some help, as I mentioned before, because this will be one of those like 3 yards in a cloud of dust type run games, probably until later in the game once you've worn them down, like the Chargers have been showing themselves to do the last few weeks. And then JK busts a couple there in the fourth quarter, maybe for another couple touchdowns, and you like increase the lead and walk away with it. You can salt this thing off. But overall, my concern is just keeping 10 healthy and in one freaking piece. So I would put a focus on this week's game plan, specifically this week's, because of where the Titans are strong in the middle, and do what you got to do to make sure that 10 walks out of the game and not on a cart or on crutches or in a boot, any of that stuff. Do what you got to do to protect your prize piece on this team. That's it. So enough venting for me. Appreciate you guys for joining me. You know who it's been. Mr. TOP again _FLYT3. And as far as this game goes, I have the Chargers pulling it out. I don't necessarily know if it'll be the blowout that people expect. I said that about the Browns too. But maybe if I keep worrying, then it'll be helpful. I don't consider myself to be superstitious, maybe sort of stitious, but I live life like this. It's my mantra. It's better to be caught with it than without it. So go into it over prepared, and if the Titans come out head full of steam and play above their heads, then you won't get caught off guard. So Chargers got to go do their thing, get to 6-3, move on for the next week's matchup, which should be a big one. I believe that they have the Bengals on a game that's been flexed to Sunday Night Football. So the world will be watching. But again, appreciate you guys. Catch us on After Hours this Sunday after the game. And until the next one, y'all know who it is. TOP _FLYT3. And I'm gone.